What's up, boys? Welcome back to another UFC breakdown and prediction video. Today, we'll be breaking down UFC London, Tom Aspinall taking on Tybura in the main event. I do like some of these money lines, not too wide. Some of the favorites I like on this card, just like last week, UFC Vegas 77, that we profited on 1.76 units, $52, $30 a unit. 10 and 3 on picks, not a bad week. If Hollyholm got that main event win, it would have been up 5 units, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, before we get into this breakdown video, please like, subscribe, comment some of your best bets down in the comments below, as it helps the channel out a lot. I do put a lot of time and effort into these videos and trying to find the best bets for you guys. So if you guys can please show me some love, that would be much appreciated. But without further ado, let's get right into the breakdown video. So our first fight of the night is going to be Jafel Filho taking on Daniel Barez. Jafel Filho 4-1 in his last 5. Barez also 4-1 in his last 5. Jafel Filho coming in about a -120 favourite. Daniel Barez a slight underdog at -105. I'm going to have to decide with Jafel Filho. I just feel like he has more ways to win this fight, and his grappling advantage here I do see being significant if he gets to the ground. As we've seen in his last fight against Makhmud, he kept going for submissions off his back every time and showed a good level of cardio in that matchup. So and Daniel Barez is showing not the best cardio, especially against Carlos Hernandez on that Contender Series win. So I'm going to have to side with Jafel Filho, the -120 favourite, but there's no bet for me in this fight. I think he'll get the second or third round submission, but Daniel Barez in his last 4 fights, he has destroyed his competition, but he has fought guys at like 36 and 39 overall records, so he's fighting cans, but he's looking very impressive. This is a low confidence pick from me, but I do think that Jafel Filho will get this win. And for our next fight on it, we have Bruna Brazil taking on Shauna Bannon. Shauna Bannon 5-0 in her last 5. Bruna Brazil 4-1 in her last 5. Bruna Brazil -130 favourite. Shauna Bannon and +105 underdog. I'm going to have to lean Shauna Bannon in this matchup. A very low confidence pick. Won't be betting this fight, but I just think that she can mix in the wrestling and she's decent on the feet. She is very kick heavy, which is worrying, and she does telegraph some of her kicks, but I think that she can be the minute winner here more than Bruna Brazil. Bruna Brazil has a durability issue also, so if anyone's going to get a finish, I think it will be Shauna Bannon in this fight, but I'm going to go with her by decision. I think that her kickboxing, she's won many kickboxing tournaments. I think she's been like a world champion in many organizations, so I'm going to have to side with Shauna Bannon by decision. Bruna Brazil kind of got fraud checked by Denise Gomez in her last fight, but as we've seen, Denise Gomez completely ran through Yasmin Horigi in her last fight, so you can't really go off that fight too much, but I just didn't like what I seen from Bruna Brazil in that fight whatsoever. And for our next fight of the night, it's going to be Chris Duncan taking on Yanal Ashmoz. Chris Duncan 4-1 in his last 5. Yanal Ashmoz 5-0 in his last 5. Chris Duncan a -120 favourite. Yanal Ashmoz a +100 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Chris Duncan in this matchup. Chris Duncan is going to be the stronger guy. He's going to be the more physical guy. He's going to be the more better guy on the feet, technically in my opinion. He's going to be the guy that can win minutes on the ground. Yanal Ashmoz was taken down by Hughes. He was got a 6-5 overall record, and I do see Chris Duncan, like I said, he has the physicality in this matchup. He'll have the strength in this matchup to win minutes on the ground, and even on the feet, I think he can win minutes there. Yanal Ashmoz, after his last fight, people are overrating him massively. He did get a KO against Patterson, and I literally bet Yanal Ashmoz because Patterson is a complete fraud and so chinny. Yanal Ashmoz, people think he's just this one-punch KO artist now, and he's just not whatsoever. He's a grappler at heart, he's a wrestler at heart, and I don't see him being able to wrestle Chris Duncan in this matchup and win minutes like he did against that Hughes guy, and he was gassing very heavily, and I do see Chris Duncan getting this finish in this third round while Yanal Ashmoz starts to gas out, and Chris Duncan really starts to put on the pace in this guy. So yeah, give me Chris Duncan by third round TKO. I'm pretty confident. I got him at plus money, 2 units. And for our next fight of the night, it's going to be Ketlen Vieira taking on Pannie Kianzad. Ketlen Vieira 3-2 in her last fight. Kianzad 4-1 in her last 5. Vieira -200 favourite. Kianzad a +160 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Ketlen Vieira. Kianzad is a gal that will try and get you to the fence and try and wrestle you, kind of boring style, but I feel like Vieira is going to have the more damaging strikes on the feet and win this as the fight goes on with her damage and get a decision win. I wouldn't be surprised if she find a finish in this matchup, but I'm just going to go with a decision victory by outdamaging Kianzad on the feet. And our next fight tonight is going to be Makhmud Muradov taking on Bryan Barberena. This is a weird fight, man. Both guys 3-2 in their last 5. Barberena plus 230 underdog. Makhmud Muradov a minus 280 favorite. This is just a weird fight. Why they made this fight complete, and why is Barberena taking this fight at middleweight? I'm going to have to side with Muradov, however. I think Muradov is going to be the more stronger guy, is going to be the more technical guy, is going to be the more powerful guy, is going to be the bigger guy. I just see this being a layup matchup for Muradov completely. You know, Barberena isn't the most powerful guy. He does have some okay cardio, and will just, you know, keep the volume up as the fight goes on. But I just feel like this is a pretty easy fight for Muradov, and I do see him KOing Barberena in that first or second round pretty easily. I just don't really understand the matchmaking. No bet from me. Maybe a parlay piece for some people, but I'm just going to stay away from it. You know, because Muradov in his last 2 performances hasn't really looked the best. But they were against grapplers, and this kind of style suits him more. So yeah, give me Muradov by KO first round. And our next fight tonight is going to be Parkin taking on Jamal Pogues. Jamal Pogues 4-1 in his last 5. Parkin 5-0 in his last 5. Parkin coming in about a plus 120 underdog. Jamal Pogues about a minus 145 favourite. I'm going to have to side with Jamal Pogues. This is a very low confidence pick, and I will not be putting my money anywhere near this sloppy heavyweight fight. I just think Jamal Pogues will be able to have a speed advantage on the feet, and he will have the wrestling advantage also. You know, Parkin, I don't really know what to think about Parkin yet, because he hasn't fought the best competition whatsoever on the regional scene, and his last fight in the Contender Series was just an all-out brawl. So there's not really much to go off Parkin. The level of competition he's fought hasn't been the best, so I'm just going to have to stay safe with my pick here and go with Jamal Pogues. No bet from me, but I think that he can get the wrestling off also and just be the faster guy on the feet with his jab and his boxing. And our next fight is going to be Joel Alvarez taking on Marc Diakiese. Marc Diakiese 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Joel Alvarez 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Joel Alvarez minus 155 favourite. Marc Diakiese about a plus 130 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Joel Alvarez in this matchup. I just think he's going to be able to put on the pressure on Marc Diakiese and hurt him in this matchup. You know, Marc Diakiese is a very good kickboxer, very technical, but I just feel like Joel Alvarez will be able to get past that kickboxing line and march Diakiese down and hurt him badly. And if he hurts him, I do see Marc Diakiese going to the rest and getting get guillotine subbed. So I do see this being like a club and sub situation. I think that Joel Alvarez is going to be the more dangerous guy, and I don't see Marc Diakiese's wrestling working on Joel Alvarez. You know, Marc Diakiese's kind of been turning into a wrestler lately, and has kind of had snooze fest fights, but I just don't see that working against a guy who's as good as Joel Alvarez on the ground. So yeah, give me a Joel Alvarez by guillotine submission first round. And our next fight is going to be Danny Roberts taking on Jonny Parsons. Danny Roberts 2-3 in his last 5. Jonny Parsons 5-0 in his last 5. Both guys coming in at a pick'em. I'm going to have to side with Danny Roberts here. I think that he's just going to be the better mixed martial artist in this matchup. Jonny Parsons should have lost his last fight against Renfrew on the Contender Series. Don't understand why he was even given a contract there, but it is what it is. I think that Roberts will be able to implement some wrestling, implement some takedowns, and he will be the more technical guy out of the 2 fighters. You know, Jonny Parsons is, a good Muay Thai fighter. Well, not really good, but competent Muay Thai fighter. So yeah, just give me Danny Roberts by decision. This is just not a fight that I'd ever put my money on. Our next fight is going to be Davey Grant taking on Daniel Marquez. Davey Grant 3-2 in his last fight. Daniel Marquez 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Davey Grant coming in about a plus 100 underdog. Daniel Marquez about a minus 120 favourite. I'm going to have to side with the underdog in this matchup, Davey Grant. You know, I did bet Daniel Marquez in his last fight against Oliveira, but I feel like this is a hard matchup for him. A guy that will have resistance and a guy that will be swinging for the fences every single strike he throws. You know, Daniel Marquez slowed down in that Contender Series fight, and I do see that being similar in this matchup against Davey Grant. Davey Grant is so hard to get out of there. His chin is very good, and his durability is just very high level, if you want to say. I think that Davey Grant will be able to get the crowd behind him and really put on the pace and even implement some wrestling and takedowns to keep Daniel Marcus thinking. I think that Davey Grant will be able to get like a later finish, but I could see this going to a decision. So yeah, give me a Davey Grant by decision in this matchup. And our next fight is going to be Lerone Murphy taking on Josh Culibao. Lerone Murphy 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. Josh Culibao 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. I'm going to have to side with Lerone Murphy. I think that he's the more dangerous striker on this on the feet by far. You know, Josh Culibao has tried taking down his opponents before and it's been unsuccessful. And I just think Lerone Murphy is going to be the better striker overall over the 3 rounds, and he's really the only guy I see finishing this fight. And he has a very dangerous like submission ability. Yes, he has never got a submission win, I don't think, in his whole career, but if you go and look at some of his fights, he is really going for submissions in some of them and threatening submissions. So if Josh Culibao goes for takedowns, he has to be wary about Lerone Murphy on the ground. I just don't see Josh Culibao being able to get like the wrestling off, and I just don't think he's on the level of Lerone Murphy. Josh Culibao was getting completely schooled by Melsik Bagdasarian. I had a bet on Melsik Bagdasarian, so I was very salty after he slipped on a banana peel that an Aussie threw from the crowd, and he slipped on it, and then he just got rear naked choked by Josh Culibao. Complete fluke win in my opinion, but that's not why I'm picking Lerone Murphy. I just think he's a more dangerous guy, and he's going to be the better guy on the feet. Lerone Murphy should have lost his last fight, but I think that he is the better fighter between these two. Our next fight tonight is going to be Jai Herbert taking on Faraj Diem. Jai Herbert 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. Faraj Diem 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Faraj Diem is about a -135 favourite right now, I think, and Jai Herbert's like a +110 underdog, around that range. I have 2 bets on Faraj Diem at -105 and -110. I think that Faraj Diem will be able to be the more calculated striker out of the two, and his jab is nasty, so calculated, and I don't see Jai Herbert being able to avoid that jab. He has no head movement, and I also think that Faraj Diem can implement the wrestling. He's taken 10 months off from his last performance, as his last performance he showed so many improvements in that last fight, and 10 months he's now at Killcliff FC, going to be working very hard, improving massively. Only 26 years of age. Jai Herbert's 35, so I do see the guy that's going to be making the improvements for Faraj Diem all day here. His first fight camp with Killcliff FC, he looked like a completely different fighter, just so much better, completely dominated Figlock over those 3 rounds. Yeah, give me a Faraj Diem by maybe a stoppage, a late stoppage, or a decision in this matchup. And our next fight is going to be Andrew Muniz taking on Paul Craig. Andrew Muniz is 4-1 in his last 5. Paul Craig 3-2 in his last 5. Andrew Muniz about a -200 favourite. Paul Craig a +170 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Andrew Muniz in this matchup. I think that he can KO Paul Craig. I think that he can submit Paul Craig. I think that he can win a decision against Paul Craig. I think he's better everywhere, wherever this fight goes. Paul Craig is just a one-dimensional guy. He will go for submissions off his back. That's all he has in this matchup, in my opinion. He will be the more active guy on the feet, though, which is worrying. But I think that Andrew Muniz will be able to find a KO finish. Paul Craig's coming down a weight class, and his chin at 205 was terrible. What's it going to be like a 185? He's cutting so much weight to make this weight class now. So I think that Andrew Muniz can win this fight in a variety of ways and just be the better fighter overall here. I'm in at -188. I put 1.6 units to win like 0.8 units, so I think that he can definitely win this matchup pretty easily, and the line is climbing as we speak. Our next fight is going to be Nathaniel Wood taking on Andre Fili. Nathaniel Wood 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Andre Fili 2-1-2 in his last 5 fights. Nathaniel Wood a -200 favourite, Andre Fili a +160 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Nathaniel Wood in this fight. I think that Nathaniel Wood's speed is going to cause so many problems for Andre Fili. Andre Fili, however, will be the bigger guy here, which is a worry for me as a Wood better this weekend. I put 1.7 units at -175. Pretty good line for how it's looking right now. I think that he's just going to be the better fighter just on the feet, and he'll win the fight as it goes on the feet. He'll just land more leg kicks, the better strikes on the feet. I think his boxing is going to be better, but Andre Fili's very competent wherever this fight goes. He's decent off his back, he can mix in wrestling. Nathaniel Wood does some of the best takedown defense, but I just think Nathaniel Wood's going to be better on the feet and just going to be too quick to the punch for Andre Fili. So yeah, give me Nathaniel Wood by decision. And our next fight tonight is going to be Molly McCann taking on Julia Stolarenko. Molly McCann 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Stolarenko 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Molly McCann a -350 favourite. Stolarenko a +260 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Molly McCann in this matchup. This is a dangerous matchup for Molly McCann. Stolarenko is a very dangerous fighter in that first round. Will go for those takedowns and go transition to an armbar if possible. That is a worry because Molly McCann's takedown defense isn't very good, but I think that she survives that round 1 more often than not, and finds a KO in that second round after Stolarenko starts to gas. I do like the under 2.5. Molly McCann is crazy in her hometown. She is a completely different fighter. So I do see that playing an actual factor. She's completely different, more aggressive when she fights in London or in England. Just a completely different fighter in front of her home crowd. So I do see her getting the stoppage. I do like the under 2.5 at -138. Don't know if I'm going to live that chalk, but I'm looking into it. And our last fight of the night, the main event, Tom Aspinall taking on Marcin Tybura. Tom Aspinall 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Tybura 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Tom Aspinall -450 favourite, and Marcin Tybura a +350 underdog. I'm going to have to side with Tom Aspinall here pretty confidently. I'm probably going to parlay him inside the distance. I just think he's going to be so much better with his boxing and speed. It's going to be too much for Marcin Tybura. Tybura has a durability issue for sure. I wonder what the inside the distance prop will be. Probably a -200, -225, somewhere around that. I will be probably parlaying that. So yeah, Tom Aspinall is just going to be better wherever this fight goes. He can get on top. I do see the under 1.5 hitting. I'm pretty sure it was started off plus money. Now it's been hammered into minus. So yeah, Tom Aspinall is just better in every single aspect of MMA compared to Marcin Tybura. I don't see any way Marcin Tybura wins unless Tom Aspinall hurts his knee again. So yeah, there you guys have it. There was my UFC London breakdown. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, comment some of your best bets down in the comments below. I do put a lot of effort into these breakdown videos, so if you can please show me some love, that'll be much appreciated. But I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Peace.